Hey everybody, Eric here with Legacy of the Gun. We are back at the 2026 Baltimore Antique Arms Show. A lot of swords. A lot of swords here. And Vincent has brought out, did you say this is your entire collection?
Yep, this is everything I own.
He has brought out a lot of swords to show off because these are not just ordinary swords. What are these? There's something specific. They're all the same brand. What is it you've got?
They're all manufactured by the Ames Sword Company, and these date between the 1830s and the end of the Civil War, 1865.
That's neat. And so Ames was an American sword
Yeah,
manufacturer.
they were the Cadillac of sword makers back then.
Okay, so they did a lot of presentation swords for officers and things like that.
That, and they've done a lot of standard contracts for the enlisted men as well.
Or do they? Okay. So out of these, I asked about presentation swords. I see some that are highly ornate. We've got some gold swords here, right? I mean, what are, there's got to be a few of these that have some historical significance or that were owned by somebody interesting. Give me a couple examples of some of the really neat ones that you've got here.
Well, this one here, both the presenter and the presentee were veterans of the War of 1812.
Oh, wow.
And also the defenders of Baltimore during the War of 1812. And this sword was ordered, there were 32 that were ordered in, 32 or 34 that were ordered in 1846. And this is one of those.
Wow. Now, is this actually gold or gold plated?
Gold gild.
Gold gilt.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And this one here was presented to a Smithby Bankhead, who was a Confederate general. And towards the end of the war, his father was a Union general, and he crossed the lines, and he had to sign a document saying that he wouldn't bear arms against the Union again. So at the end of the war, 2 years after the war, he was murdered, and they believed that the Confederate supporters didn't like the fact that he did that, so he was beaten to death. And today, it's the longest unsolved murder mystery in Memphis.
That is so neat. That's kind of a weird, macabre, story, but that's neat historical significance. And I think we've got some more down here. Let's take a peek down there. All right, so this one right here, you said?
Yeah, this came from the family. This was belonged to Seth B. Thornton, who was an officer in the Army before the Mexican War. And his unit was attacked, and he was murdered just before the Mexican War. And that's one of the reasons why the president at the time decided to go to war with Mexico, because he said they named it the Thornton Affair.
Really?
Yeah.
And that was because of him?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because that was the attack on his unit.
Wow.
This song belonged to General Forrest C. Lee, and when this was presented to him, he was a colonel in 1855, and during the Civil War, he was a general. And what's unique about this, if you look at the blade, it has his whole military history, all his battle engagements, his imprisonment, his promotions, and it's etched on both sides that you'll be able to see, and it's just really unique. So it's something that he really took pride in, and he personalized. And I actually had the his presentation candlesticks at home that I didn't bring for the show.
Really? So it wasn't typical. It would be typical to have the name on it, but to have the embellishments to this extent.
Yeah, his entire military, no. Yeah, this is very unique.
Now, that's something you mentioned that he had that done. This is something that he had done afterwards?
Yeah.
Was the sword presented to him, and then afterwards he took it back?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
That's really neat that he wanted to kind of commemorate his service.
Yeah, this sword was obviously very important to him, and his service to the country was very important to him. That he wanted to document everything on this blade, of all of his accomplishments, his battles, his victories, and even the time that he went to prison.
That's so fitting.
Yeah.
And it's so neat just to be the curator, even if just temporarily for however many years, of a sword that meant so much to somebody that was historically significant, that had so many achievements throughout their career.
Yeah, it's an honor, really.
It really is, yeah. And then I think there's one or two more down here, right?
This is a sword that was presented to General George Brooke, and I found out afterwards that he was the founding father of Tampa.
That is so neat.
Yes, he was a veteran. He was a veteran of the War of 1812. And in 1824, the government wanted him to go down to Florida to establish a military presence.
Really?
So he set up a Fort Brooke. And where that fort sat is where Tampa Bay Convention Center is now.
No kidding.
So he's considered one of the founding fathers of Tampa Bay.
I can see why. Now, tell me a little about, there's a little bit of a difference in the swords as far as the, what do you call it? It's not the grip here.
No.
What's the difference that we're looking at here between the full guard and it lays a lot flatter?
Well, this is a French style, and this is an 1840 artillery officer sabers. This is
Okay.
a different style for the artillery.
Okay. So it's just as simple as that.
Yeah.
It's not much more to it.
Yeah.
But we do have one that's a little bit more embellished that you were telling me about earlier. This is something that was relatively new to me that I had never heard about before. Tell me about it. This one right here, right?
Yep, this is the one. It's the U.S. Reserves. And what happened in 1862, the government went to Ames and said, look, we need 12 swords like now. And Ames said, look, we can't create just 12 swords. What we can do is take the standard naval cutlass, and instead of stamping it in, we'll stamp it on. So there were 12 that were given to them. And out of the 12, this is the only known one still in existence.
And what was the reserves?
It's precursor to the Coast Guard.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. See, that's something I had never heard of before.
Yeah.
And that's really neat. So this is, do you say this is the only known surviving?
Yes.
USR?
Yeah.
Wow. That's very interesting. You have amassed an absolutely gorgeous collection here.
Thank you.
It's, this is, I don't think I've ever seen a sword collection presented like this. Definitely not outside of a museum.
Yeah.
We want to thank you so much.
No, thank you.
For sharing this with us and showing it to us here at Legacy of the Gun. We love rare, historic, iconic pieces. There's so much history laying on these tables. It's phenomenal. And we absolutely eat it up. If you guys do too, check out some of our other videos, legacyofthegun.com, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and we'll see you guys in our next video.